Folks, welcome to Myers Metal Detectors, located in sunny Tampa, Florida, where we sell nothing but fun and adventures, treasure hunting gear, and anything you can imagine for metal detecting. Give us a call, 813-237-1939. Happy hunting and dig deeper.
Live from sunny Florida, it's Treasure Talk. Hello, everybody. Good evening from Sebastian, Florida. We're here. It's cloudy. It's been raining, but the weather forecast for the next couple days is fantastic. And me, my lovely wife, Susan, and some very good friends that I will introduce you to soon, the Treasure Talk family. We are going to go and hunt the beaches tomorrow with two of the legends of the Treasure Coast. And I'm telling you what, we just couldn't sleep. It's so excited to get out and hunt with these guys. Last year we had a great time hunting with these two, and we look for a better time this year out hunting the Treasure Coast beaches. And you never know, we may find some goodies, and if we do, you'll be sure to know about it. So we got a good show lined up for you tonight. Unfortunately, sickness has hit the Treasure Talk family and some of their guests. Some people could not, they had to cancel out. They just couldn't make it tonight. Let's everybody say a prayer for Captain Fizz. He called me a little earlier and he's really not feeling very well at all. So we need to just pray for Captain Fizz that his health be restored so he can come back and tell us some more stories. A couple other people got called away for work, and that's okay because we got the quill for you tonight. We got the best of the best, and we're going to start here directly. So, you know, we got a lot going on tonight. I don't know how long the show's going to go. You just kind of hang with us because what's going to happen is I'm going to introduce you to everybody, our Treasure Talk family, and then we're just going to turn the camera around and we're going to talk. We're going to tell stories and talk treasure. So we don't know what time we'll get into it. It may be 3 o'clock in the morning, although I doubt that very much because I'm old and I can't stay up that late. So anyways, I'm going to turn the camera around now and introduce you to our Treasure Talk family. So here we go. Bear with me if my camera work is not steady. So over there, we got our good friend, Danny Moonlight Graham. And there we got Rick and Deb Tumbleson back there. That's Big Billy King. That's Mrs. Terry. That is the lovely Jean, you know, the one that's got all the rings. And there's the love of my life right there, the one that makes it all possible. Right there. That's Miss Susan. And our guests for tonight, Terry and Fred, and you've seen them before, but now it's really going to be turned loose. So I'm going to leave the camera turned around. Let's make sure we got it adjusted so we can get these guys in there. Let me adjust it a little more. There we are. I think we've got everybody in there. So it's been quite a season so far. Terry's due to go back up north here in about a month, I think. He's going to make the trek back up to Minnesota, but we'll do a show in the summertime from. We won't be in Minnesota, and well, we might be because Moonlight Graham wants to go to Minnesota and hunt with Terry, and I might go with him. So you never know what's going to happen. But he's going to be going back to Minnesota, and Fred stays around here, and we got a lot of information to impart to everybody. So let's just get into it. If you got questions, put them in the chat. We'll make sure that they get asked and answered. So let's see, Terry and Fred, what's going on in the Treasure Coast?
Well, first off, I want to welcome everybody tonight, and it's an honor being here. Yep, it truly is an honor. And I'm sorry about the other guys that couldn't make it. It's kind of sad.
Our thoughts are with Captain Fizz, and it is an honor to be here and amongst all our friends. Treasure Talk friends.
Yeah, they are. And one other thing I want to, I need to do this because this is a Treasure Talk family. And you and Terry have been with us enough that we consider you to be the Treasure Talk family. On a personal note, we have had Susan and I, our granddaughter, started as a freshman in high school. And she decided she wanted to be a cheerleader. So she went out for cheerleading and up against a whole bunch of other girls. She made it. She's a cheerleader. She's a freshman and she's a high school cheerleader. And I think that's great. So everybody, congratulations, Molly. That's quite an accomplishment.
It is an accomplishment. She should be very proud, and I bet your grandpa and grandma are pretty proud too.
Oh, yeah. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
I tell everybody, if you knew how much you love your grandkids, you'd have them first. Really.
That's right. They get away with everything,
Yes, they do.
as they should.
And when they have temperatures, then you give them back to their parents.
Yeah, they're the ones that bring home all the stuff from school, good and bad and indifferent. So what's been going on down here this winter time, hunting season?
Well, I think the fine folks that are in charge down here are doing a very, very fine job of destroying our beaches. They're replenishing or renourishing. They're not renourishing the beach. They're bringing in sand to deal with the erosion. And granted, there is a lot of erosion that's been there for over a year now from the hurricanes. And on some of my videos and some of the talks, you've seen me at cuts that are actually higher than my head. There's a lot of, this has to be repaired. They're doing that now. But it's really kind of killed the detecting. It just kind of, when you bring in more sand, it just covers more stuff up. And it's been kind of an unusual year weather-wise, too. We haven't had the high winds, and we've had kind of a easterly wind coming in for the majority of the time, and it's just bringing in more sand and more sand. And so I've had a slow year.
Now, aren't they bringing the sand in to replenish the beaches from the interior of the state?
They do that in places, but also right where Gene and I live, they are bringing it in from offshore. They're pumping it in, but it's a real gray color. It's just a different color.
It's an ugly gray color, and they're trucking it all the way up the coast too, and filling up the coast. Now, one of the problems is turtles are starting to nest right now, and the problem is they're allowed to relocate the turtle nest. So they're relocating turtle nests, and we don't know how that's going to work out for them.
Yeah, because
what they're doing is they're putting all the sand where the turtles nest. So they're allowed to work until I think mid-May, something like that. They got an extension to work a bit longer, carrying more sand, and then as soon as they quit, they're going to start again next December and finish what they're doing next December.
now once they disturb the turtle's nest, does that impede the turtles, breaking out of their shell?
I guess it depends who's doing it, because what they do is they mark each egg in the direction of the egg is facing. They're pretty serious about it. They have turtle people come in and actually do it. the sand work is going to do it.
Oh, cool. Well, we do have a question from the Dickin Canuck. She wanted to know, when storms take out sand, do other storms bring it back in?
Yes, it does. Mother Nature is kind of fickle. And what I've seen storms where the cuts are up to head high. And you go back and, 2 tides later, it's all back in. That's one of the things that I question on rebuilding the beaches, is that several times this year we've had this east wind coming in. And there's been places where you walk onto the beach, then you got to go over a hump of sand that's been washed in to get down to the water. And my question is, why don't they get out there with a bulldozer and take that hump and push it up rather than truck it? It just seems to me. But I'm not an expert. Everything it's my opinion, talking to other people. So there's people that really know what they're going on. But I do question it. I really do.
I can take you to a beach where part of the beach is renourished sand, and then a little bit further south, they don't renourish there. They won't let them renourish there. And the beach is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with the beach. The houses on the shoreline don't get damaged, and there's nothing wrong. So, I mean, they're renourishing the beaches to protect the houses and the condos along the shores. That's basically what they're doing.
Well, the beaches are shrinking because, like I was telling Susan, I said a lot of times, you go over on the West Coast and you got expansive beaches, a lot bigger beaches. When you come over here, you don't got to walk that far to get down to the water. There's not that much beach because they built it right up, boom. And it's not like even in Daytona where you've got a big expanse of beach. Down here, you really don't have that because they built it close.
It can be really steep sometimes, going down from the dune right down to the waterline. It can be really steep.
I've had trouble where I get all excited and I jump down in there. And then sooner or later, I got to get back up.
I know.
Then you see the old little guy, I'm digging steps to get back out of that thing.
It's going down is always easier than coming back
Exactly.
up. I'll tell you.
I'm not real big on taking things through. But, I feel that I am so blessed to be able to enjoy what I enjoy down here. I'm metal detect virtually every day. I miss more lately, but I'm 83 years old. I'm on virtually no medication whatsoever, and it's the exercise. And the true treasure is the people that I've met and the people that are watching here tonight. They're good people, and I'm just proud to be a part of this.
Well, that's one thing about this hobby. The people that are in the hobby, we have found by and large, and I think Danny would agree, and Rick and Billy would agree, that the people that we've met in this hobby, for the most part, are just good, solid, honest folks. I mean, you could just meet somebody on the beach that's another detectorist, and if you had to run back to your car, you could leave your detector and your scoop right there, and they'd watch it for you. You don't really have to worry about them taking off with it. So, there's a lot of real good people.
And there's a lot of information at the local museums. There's great people at the local museums.
Oh yeah, well, you got some good museums down here, Fred.
People bring stuff into the museums all the time that they find on the beaches, and they want to know, is it from the fleet? Is it not from the fleet?
That's what brought me to Florida.
Yeah.
Many, many years ago. I hate to even think about that. We came down and we visited an old Navy buddy over at Tampa, and then we went across to up the East Coast here, and I stopped at the McClarty Museum. And I'm looking at the movie, I see all the Spanish treasure. And so I asked the ranger there, I said, are they still finding it? Can they still find that treasure? And he went back and he got a scrapbook and he brought it out. And people that found it with metal detectors or walking the beach would come into the museum, they take their picture. And that was it. I wanted to be in that book. That was my goal. And I'm in it now.
Yeah, and now, plus, you've written 5.
No, I've written 6.
6?
But yeah,
Well,
I just didn't think of 6. I'm going to catch you on that when I get home.
He's just, hey, you may be in trouble as we speak. And Fred's a published author. And I think we need to, let's talk about the museum. So Fred, there's some big news. And I also want to say, everybody, join us in wishing Nicole from the Mel Fisher Museum. She wanted to be here tonight, but it's her anniversary and they are on a cruise. So everybody, let's wish Nicole a happy anniversary.
And a happy birthday.
Yes.
Happy birthday and happy anniversary.
Yes,
Her
indeed.
birthday's tomorrow, so happy birthday, Nicole.
Yeah, she's a young one.
And her husband is a great guy, super people.
James is a really good guy.
That's great. And I like that museum.
Yeah.
You know, I think everybody, when we did the show from the museum, that was the most watched show to date on Treasure Talk.
Yeah, you're walking through stuff that nobody has touched for 300 years, in the story and the history behind it. And that's just scratching the surface. There's still so much lost.
Oh, there's
And
tons, isn't there?
It's a great reference for metal detectors, because if you find something on the beach, you can go look through that museum and see if it looks like anything that's in the museum.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
Well, they got some special times coming up at the museum, don't they?
They actually do. They've got Mel Fisher Days. Now, this is July 19th and 20th. And normally every year it's been down in Key West, Mel Fisher Days, big celebration. And this year it's in Sebastian. And it just happens to be Sebastian's 100th birthday this
Well,
this
that's
year.
cool. I didn't know that.
But the Mel Fisher Days is going to be wonderful. There's going to be a hunt going from bar to bar, and there's going to be all kinds of parties going on, and a lot of stuff going on.
There'll be a lot of parties.
There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. So I'd encourage you, if you're from out of town, come in town. 19th and 20th of July, and it's going to be a fun time.
Oh, it'll be a great time. And go to the museum. It's a fantastic museum. You saw a little bit of it on the show, but we have been there. Susan and I have been there. And I think last year we went. I think Rick went, and Danny wasn't able to be here last year, but a whole bunch of us went over there. And for those that don't know, Nicole is Mel Fisher's granddaughter. Am I correct?
Correct.
And her mother is
Taffy Fisher,
Taffy.
and Melvin Fisher is there also. Melvin and Nicole run the museum now, where Taffy used to run it.
So that's the Fisher family, and it doesn't get any more regal than that when it comes to treasure hunting.
And they're doing a lot of renovations there. The theater room, they came up with a new sound system. They've had an artist come in and paint it like the inside of a ship, an old wooden ship.
Oh, that'd be
Even
cool.
so much detail as painting a dirty old black rat on one of the walls.
Well, that was part of it, I think.
That was part of it. And they did a beautiful job of redoing that room. And they're doing some touchscreen stuff in another room. It's going to be really interesting to see what they're
Well,
coming
that
up
is cool. I love that place. And I've been to the Mel Fisher Museum in Key West, which is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And this one is, it's right there with it.
Yeah.
It's
They've
really
got
right
some
there with
beautiful
it.
stuff there. Everything from religious artifacts through to the coins, through silver bars.
And they got cannon there.
Yeah, they've got everything there to see.
Brennan's been a big part of it in the remodeling. You've done a lot of work.
I've done a bit of work there. I'm a tour guide when they have a big group come through. I go down there and help out as being a tour guide. For a large group.
You do a great job at that, Fred. Phil, the guru, who wants to be here, but he's got to run the shop, so he can't come and join in all the festivities. One day, we're going to get him over here at the house. So everybody send Phil a message. Send him an email at metaldetectorguru.com. Go on to his Myers Depot, send him a message. You need to go to Sebastian. That's it. So he wants to know how far you guys walk on an average day.
I don't walk nearly as far as my wife. My wife's a walker, but I average probably, I'd say 5 or 6 miles a day. The better the detecting, the less I walk. I'm digging. So if I come home and I walk 7 or 8 miles, I just haven't had a good day.
I'm about the same as Terry, yeah. I just keep walking till I find stuff and find a good spot.
And you never know where you're gonna find it.
And you don't, and sometimes you just keep walking and walking and walking until you're tired.
Yeah, there's an expression, shoot and scoot, you know, if you're in an area,
Yeah.
not finding something, move on. And it's, the beach changes every tide. You know, every tide it changes, and you want to look, you know, it's 300 years since this treasure has been lost, for over 300 years, and it's down deep and that stuff. And so what you're looking for, as I tell everybody, when you go into the beach access, look to the left, look to the right, you know, look down the beach, and if it looks like the water's coming up farther someplace, that's because it's washed out and slow, and that's where you should detect.
Yeah.
You know, and the treasure's there, folks. I bet you I've walked over probably billions of them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's so much sand, you know, detectors can only go so deep.
And Terry and I will hit different beaches and then call each other and let each other know what's going on, if the beach is any good.
Well, that's what we're hoping tomorrow. Y'all are gonna steer us the right way. You know?
No pressure, right?
No, we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do that at all. So what have you been finding?
Well, I think it's something I showed a few days ago, but my latest and greatest find, I brought two of my favorite finds with me, and my latest really good find was this ring, and a little bit of history. I don't know if you could
You
see
get it right up to the camera, Fred. There you go. There you go. That is absolute killer.
And that is 99.99% pure silver. And a little bit, Terry and I both researched this ring, and a little bit about the ring. We believe it's Knights of Malta, because it's a Maltese cross on there. And in the 1500s, the Knights Templar went into Malta and fortified it against the Turks. And what they did then was they were disbanded in 1507, I believe the date was. And then the Knights of Malta were formed, and they went on, and the Spanish military had 3 religious groups, and one of them was the Knights of Malta. And I believe this is off a Spanish shipwreck, because we found it amongst a whole lot of bronze spikes, and Terry brought some of those along to show you tonight. But the bronze spikes were used pre-1600s in their ships alone.
So do you think that ring might have come off of any of the 1715 fleet, or was
I
it
think
older
it-
than that?
I think it's older than that. And I don't know if you can see
Well, we can tilt the camera. We got
the
10.
camera. And the thing about these spikes, that and the reason I brought them tonight, these were found at the same time that we found that the red found the ring in the same spot, with the exception of the one you're holding, that I found in the same area, but a couple days before. But these spikes, these are bronze, you know, and they go way back. The
And those were
1715
plank, or like the planks, the deck planks?
Yeah, there's a couple theories on it. They say, you know, in the 1715, most of the ships had a very short ship life, and they were used steel spikes because they're cheaper, and they just don't stand up. They think that maybe these are prior to 1715, or they're from people of wealth, you know, and they could afford the bronze spikes, or they thought maybe that they used the steel up high and these down low. There's several theories, you know, but they're old. I mean, this thing has been lost a long time. And that's what I believe is part of the keel pin development of this.
Okay, see, a lot of people wouldn't recognize if they found something like that. They just think it was junk. You know, they don't realize what they might have found.
But look at the stuff, like these little tacks. Now, again, all this stuff was found in a 2-day period. He and I were together, and we were in an area probably the size of this room. And, you know, so that certainly dates his ring.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like this is a bronze sheeting tack. You know, they had to line the bottom of the ships with lead because of the tornado waves, you know. And there's some modern stuff in. I got a bunch of 50 caliber bullets from World War II. But you know, other than that, you know, that's a good indication. Look at this spike. You know, that had to be, to bend a spike like that, that had to be in a pretty violent storm.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, definitely.
And there's this is the whole spike right here. And that would go through a deck plank, something
Yeah.
like that.
That's cool. So that's why, like I said, most people, if they pulled something up like that, they just figure it was hurricane trash or something, you know? And so you kind of, it pays to watch shows like this. So you learn from those that know. So if you find something like that, hey, you might have something.
Certainly.
You know, and am I correct in if somebody was out on the beach and they found something they could not identify, they could take it into Mel Fisher Museum
They do.
and they will identify it.
Practically every day, somebody will bring something in, and I've been down there when I get called once in a while to go down there and have a look at, see what was brought in, and some really interesting stuff. On one occasion, excuse me, a guy brought in a silver bar about 7 inches long, no, about 4 inches long, and it's about 1/8 inch thick, and it had, excuse me, had a crest and a crown on it, and it was in backwards. So I took a picture of it and held it against the mirror, and I could see the VR on there. And I was raised in England, and I guess I failed history because
You were playing hooky, Fred. You was out detecting and stuff.
it actually, the guy didn't say that where he found it, so I just assumed. And you know, when you assume, you get in trouble. I
Mhm.
assumed it was a Spanish shipwreck, but really it was an English shipwreck. So I was trying to find out what VR was, and then Nicole's sent a picture to their archaeologist, and it turned out to be VR, which is Victoria Reign, which is Queen Victoria. So it's off of the English ship. And it was, along with that, the guy had found some little gold ornaments and stuff off of that.
So he had a good day.
And I went down later and to the same location. Thank you. I went down later and found copper sheathing. So it was an 1800s ship, Queen Victoria, and I found copper sheathing because after the lead sheathing, they would line the bottom of the ships with copper because the lead would corrode because they don't lead nails don't work too good. They're soft. So they had to put iron nails or copper nails to hold the lead in place, and that caused a corrosion. And they finally went to copper nails like you saw that Terry had, and copper sheathing on the bottom of the ships.
Well, the old ones from the 1715 fleet, was that lead sheeting or was that copper?
No, it'd be lead.
And you guys find
I would
chunks
think
of,
so. I don't know. You got to understand too that some of these ships were actually made in other countries and were captured and put into use, and some were actually purchased.
That happened with the Hampton Court. Was one of the 1715 fleet. It was captured by the French. It was built in, I believe, 1678 or something, and then it was rebuilt in 1701, and then it was captured by the French off of England, and then it was taken to Dunkirk, and then sold to the Spanish, and it became one of the flagships for the Spanish fleet on the 1715 fleet. And that ship had 2.5 tons of lead sheathing just on the keel of the ship.
that was a big ship though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
About how long you reckon it was?
120, something like that.
Yeah, that's good. And how much crew do you think one of those would
They
have?
had over 100 people on
Oh, yeah. They would have on these ships that have maybe 400 people
And they'd
coming
have,
back.
I mean, how many tons of cargo? Like, in the 1715 fleet, that was a lot of stuff they picked up in Cuba, wasn't it?
Yeah, one was brought in from the Orient, and it was brought from all over. The pearls come from one country. The Kanchi pottery came from the Orient.
Silver from Bolivia, Peru, and gold and emeralds from Colombia. And then in Mexico, they would have gold and silver from Mexico as well.
So
So it came from all over. And they would have the Spanish fleet that went to China and the Philippines. They would bring back the porcelain and silks and stuff like that, and they'd have to take that across Central America on mule train, and to the other side to get on with the fleet. but the fleet would always meet in Havana after they assemble the fleet in Havana. Then they would leave all together for safety and go up through the Florida Strait.
When the 1715 fleet left, it was very late. They were waiting on, I don't know exactly what they were waiting on, but they were into the hurricane season. It was the start of it, but it was very late for them to take off.
It was July 24th, and then July 31st is when they had the hurricane and the ships were washed ashore.
And there were a lot of survivors too.
Oh, yeah.
That's what, and there's an area, I know you've mentioned it before, Terry, and I think you have too, Fred, where the survivors camp.
The main survivors camp was at the McCarty Museum.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
I knew there was
there's
some
that,
kind of a
But
connection.
There was another survivors camp further south at Cargan's Wreck, which is Turtle Trail. And that's where we find the musket balls and things like that.
Yeah, I got that one time, I got 210 musket balls for a 3-day period and one Spanish coin.
I found musket balls, and then on another occasion, I found a cannonball. I found just.
Olive jar top.
You want to tell about that?
You just give it to us, because I know what's coming here. I know you're never, ever going to live that
I'm
down.
never
Fred.
going to live this down, but it was
No.
a good story.
Well, let's have it.
Well, they call me the legend, and which is kind of inappropriate, but they do. And I haven't got an olive jar top. And I was gritty, being very careful, looking for treasure, gritty, heading this way. And here comes Fred. He gets close to me and he bends down and picks up this olive jar top.
It's a neck of an olive jar. And anybody can find the pieces of olive jar, but there's only one neck to every olive jar.
And they sell for about $400, and I don't have it.
But I have them. And I'm very proud of it.
And
He doesn't have one.
And I tell you, here's the thing, at Christmas time, you send him a picture of it, don't you? On your Christmas
Oh, he
card.
sees it. He's got visitation rights. He comes over and sees it.
Yeah, but
I display
Terry, a couple times he's let me hold it. Next thing I want to get my picture taken with it.
Well,
we had our picture taken. Well, both of us had a finger in it, fighting over it one time.
well, you need to get a Christmas card. You holding up the olive jar and going, and just send that to Terry.
I think I might do that.
When we were a detective, when he found that ring, which dropped everything, I was finding these spikes, and I was doing really well. And Fred said, I haven't found a bronze spike yet. And I was digging, and Fred was very, very close. And as I scooped it up, it just tipped it up so it's straight. And I could see it laying down there. So I reached down, picked it up, and threw it in front of Fred. So this is going to make you mad, isn't it?
And it made me mad. But later I found a piece of the spike, bronze spike, and one of those bronze pins.
And I was so happy for him.
No, you.
Actually, I was.
It's called pouting on the beach, I believe. You've heard of the drinks on the beach. This is pouting on the beach.
I got over it.
But see, now that's one of the treasures of memory taking. I made a friend with Fred,
Yeah.
and we've enjoyed each other. Fred actually invited me to go out and hunt with him out in North Dakota on the Indian War site. We had a ball. Had a great time.
We had a great time. The first day he got there was you got there about noon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I took him straight out to the farm and took him to a field that I wanted him to metal detect in. And I'd been there before, and I knew there was nothing but a lot of pistol bullets there. And I just turned him loose, and he was metal detecting all around my Jeep. And it was like a kid in the candy store. He was just pulling them, and I was just standing back watching him. I was enjoying just watching him.
I stepped out of the vehicle, turned the detector on, you got a beep, and if you scooped it up and dumped it up, you dumped it onto the boat. It's just phenomenal. But, he invited me out there, and just prior to that, we had an accident with my car. A 95-year-old man was we were in a parking lot at the store, and he was backing out, and he went to hit the brakes, he hit the gas, had a big Cadillac, and ran right into my car. And then he went on and hit a pickup on the pickup round, and I think he might have hit us on the way back. But anyway, we weren't hurt. But I couldn't get the car repaired, And he invited me out there. So what I did is I got some wire and wired my fender onto my car. You know, and I drove out to Montana. We stayed in Sydney, Montana, with a head like that, one headlight down here.
Well, he's looking for an olive jar top. You know, that's what he was doing. Is you never know when there might be a stray one. But you guys have made some tremendous finds over the years down here on the Treasure Coast. I know you've got one there, Fred and Terry. You got this gorgeous ring that Gene was so kind as to let him bring.
Okay, the ring I got, I found a lot of rings, but this ring here it's missing one stone, and I think it's a ruby. And if it's a ruby, you know, apparently they can't ship rubies into the United States anymore, and these things are much more valuable than diamonds. So if this is a real ruby, this is a kind of a high dollar ring. And diamonds are number 10 on the hardness scale, and rubies are 9. And when I test this with my diamond tester, it'll test right up to almost the 10. So I need an expert to authenticate it. But
Tell them how you found it. When you found it, that was the only thing in your scoop.
oh, Fred and I were detecting together, and we walked down to the beach, and this was my very first thing, you know. And I follow the waves out, you know. So because the beaches will be kind of at an angle as the waves recede, it's dropping sand. So if you follow the waves out, you can get down a little bit deeper, but you're going to get beat up. The waves are going to get. So when you get a target, you know, you have to stand there, let the wave go by, then let's go out, scoop it up real quick. See, and I did that. I scooped it up, got it in the scoop, and the wave come back. It took everything out of my scoop but the ring, washed all the sand up. And I looked in, I could see that thing sparkling there, so I walked over and just put my scoop in front of
And I pulled it out of the scoop.
it. No rivalry there, none. I think the adjective for both Fred and I is gentlemen. You're not buying that, are you?
No, well, you know, we know where. Okay, we got a question here from Frank's Fly Traps. What machine and coils are they mainly swinging on the beach these days?
Go ahead.
But I'm still using the Legend, and I use the Legend with the 11-inch coil on there, and I've had a lot of success. I found the ring and a lot of things with that, and same machine that works great up there in the Indian country, and I use a 6-inch coil up there, and found a cannonball 2.5 feet deep with 6-inch coil up there.
Well, that's good. Now they've just released that beast mode, I guess, in the Legend.
Yeah,
Have you upgraded to that?
I'm going to do it after this weekend. I talked to Mark yesterday about it, and I told him I was going to upload it after this weekend because we're going to the Central Florida hunt on Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want to upload it first. I'm going to do it right after the weekend.
And then I haven't heard much about it other than that it is available. And so you're swinging the Deus, right,
I'm
Terry?
swinging the Deus on the beach, but I also have the Legend. I use the Legend up north. You know, it's waterproof and that, and I'm very impressed with it. I tell you, it is a well-built machine. It really is. And I used a small coil when I was out with Fred up in Montana on that, and I used a small coil wading the river. But on the beach, I've been using the Deus too. It's light. I've got the carbon. I've had 3 surgeries on this arm, 2 on this arm, and I just need the lightness. And I've been very happy with it. I mean, after a while, you know, you get to know your machine and it kind of talks to you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a lot of times, fast enough time, I'll know what is there before I even dig it up. You can tell by the sound and the numbers and that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a Manicore, I've got a Equinox 800, and I've got a CTX 3030, but I'm out there with the Legend.
Well, the Legend is, from what I understand, is the killer machine. I've got a couple friends that got the Legend, and they just absolutely love it.
I'm excited about the beast mode, trying that out.
And it is built like a tank.
It's well built and it's you know, it's simple. You know, you can turn it on and you're set. That's all you have to do. There's different adjustments you can make, but you don't need to. It would be considered, first line or beginner's detector as far as technology and how to run. The Deus, you gotta spend a little time figuring that thing.
Yeah, you need to figure that out a little bit. But that Legend, and it's built very, very well, but it's not heavy.
No, the heaviest part is the coil. But I've been swinging that thing, and I can swing that all day long, and not having any problems.
Well, anybody that's was swinging the Equinox, I think the Legend's probably a little bit lighter and a little more well balanced than an Equinox.
Yeah.
It's built a lot better than the Equinox.
It's built a lot
A
better
lot better
because
than the Equinox, and I've got the 800 and I've got the 600, and I've used them a lot, and I pick the Legend anytime.
yeah, I would do as myself because I had an Equinox and I had 4 of them leak on me, and coil ears break and stuff like that. And when a machine is built as it should be, you're not going to have that problem.
Sure.
And I don't think you'll have that problem at all. I mean, I'll probably get in trouble for saying it, but I would prefer a Legend over a Mind Lab. I just would.
They never break. They always break when it's the most inconvenient time.
They do indeed. They do indeed.
I used to have airplanes. I bought a flying fishing resort up north. And when you fly your airplane, you have a checklist. And I've reached the age where I'm going to have to do that for my detective stuff. I've made it a practice lately to always forget at least one thing every trip. And so you should have a little checklist, your detector, your scoop.
Oh, I have to. Because I have gone, well, I'm going to tell one on myself. And Moonlight Graham, well, and he'll testify to this. A couple of years ago, we're down on Treasure Island, and I can't half see. And I got a new coil for my Deus. Well, if anybody knows about the Deus coils, they got a serial number on them, and they don't always, it could be an 8 or it could be a B. So, I'm trying to, do my trifocals up and all kinds of stuff. So I get it entered and, get it all charged up. I go down to the beach, nothing. I go, wah, wah, wah. So then I got to go back. So we're having dinner that night. And I'm complaining about it. And of course, Mr. Moonlight Graham says, well, you ain't nothing but a blind old SOB. Why don't you take your phone and make it bigger? I said, you know what? That's not a bad idea. So I took a picture of it, made it bigger. Works like a champ.
Sometimes it's so, you forget the very obvious. The thing that can I tell a story?
You can tell any kind of story.
Okay. I was detecting up in Minnesota in the river, and I could go through this farmer's field in the woods, and I get right up and park right by the river. I got out of my truck, and a bear had pooped right behind my truck. And it didn't bother me any. I just put my waders on, went detecting, and when I got all done, I took the waders off and stepped in the bear poop. And I don't know what that bear was eating, but it was just, oh gosh, it was terrible. I wiped myself off the best I could, drove home, which was about 12 miles with my windows open on my truck, rang the doorbell on my house and asked my wife if she would unlock the basement door so I could go right into the shower. And I'm in the shower when I suddenly realized when I did that, I'm 3 foot away from the river filled with water. It's things like that that just really kind of.
I know. I prefer to think that your head is so full of knowledge that there's no room for that kind of stuff.
That's it.
And I forget
it's
stuff
gotta be.
all the time.
Nobody say something profound.
Oh yeah. Yeah, everybody's waiting for it. So this Miranda Aiken says she always travels with duct tape and a backup detector. Well, yeah, we always got backup detectors.
Duct tape is a wonderful thing. I even use it on my airplanes. We call it 100 mile duct tape. It'll peel off at 100 miles an hour.
Well, I knew we were going to get a comment. Johnny Height says the Equinox 900 is fantastic. Not like the 800. I used the Nocta Simplex and 800 for years. The 900 with carbon fiber and 6-inch coil is feather light, 2.5 pounds. I have heard that. I haven't heard that.
It's gotta be a machine because they had some flaws in the 800 and 600. The coils, the ears of the coil were bad, and I had both of mine filled up with water, and I was not very deep in the water, and rather than repair that, they went to the 900, and what they did in the 900 and the 700 is corrected all the things that, so that he's got a prime machine there, really.
Yeah,
did not
I
prime
think that's what I understand, that they learned from the 800 and the 600, and now they've stepped up their game with the,
And the Manacor.
Yeah.
They fixed all the problems from the 800 with the Manacor. too.
Now, I have a question for you. I know you have a Manacor because last year you had it on the beach and we had to stay a block apart because it interfered with the dais. Do you find in the surf that it falses a lot?
Yeah, it does. But I haven't used it in a while, so because I've been out there with the Legend and stuff. But I did have a problem with it up in North Dakota. There's a lot of tin and trash around those ports and stuff. So there's a lot of trash around there, and I wanted to go deep because we knew there was an area there that there was some good stuff in there deep. So I got the Manacor out first, and it just drove me crazy. I had to put it back in the truck. That's when I brought the Legend down, and the Legend was so easy to use and distinguish the trash metal from the good metal and stuff. And I don't get the chatter and stuff that you get with the Manacor on the beach and stuff.
Well, we have a friend of ours, I know Big Billy Keene is his friend as well as Danny's, Sean Roush, who uses his two machines, as I understand it, are his prime machine is the Manacor and his backup machine is the Deus. And he hunts mainly in the water, I think. Isn't that not right, Billy?
Yeah, he's pretty much all water.
And he loves the Manacor. He says it's very sensitive, which I understand that it is. And he says it's deep, which I understand that it is
deep.
well.
Absolutely deep, yeah.
So, all machines have, a lot of people don't like the Deus because it's, the small screen and, you got to learn how to program it. And then, and the thing pops off sometimes. So every machine has its dilemmas.
Yeah.
So it's all in what everybody likes.
Absolutely.
What works for them. So I think they're all good machines. We got one from Florida Metal Detecting here. Here's one from Miranda Aiken first. Sorry, I'll get to yours, Florida. She said, how long have you guys known each other?
It's been about 2 years. What happened is Fred was giving a talk down at the Clarity Museum. And I went down there to hear the talk. And Fred gave a pretty good presentation, and we got all done. He thanked everybody for being there and said, if you enjoyed the presentation, he said, I'm Fred Banky. And he said, if you didn't like it, I'm Terry Shedd. And that's where the friendship started. And
That's just typical me.
there's a lot of battery back and forth, and it's fun. And we talk to each other every day, I think, and Fred is one of the finest people I know.
I agree. I agree 100%.
But I just treasure his friendship and everything. We, like I said, we go out metal detecting together a lot, and really enjoy his company and doing presentations together. We have a really good time doing presentations. We'll banter back and forth.
Well, y'all are in demand because like a WSAS, they have with their meetings, and you guys have done their meetings.
Yeah,
And they absolutely, they say, come back as soon as you can.
they're
any
good
place.
people. It's a lot of fun. And I'm in my third year. We're going to be fourth year coming up, teaching a class for seniors at the Shepherd Center up in Melbourne. And Fred now also teaches about the Indian Wars up there. And these are senior citizens, and it's a wonderful program. It's just a wonderful program. They come in, and I think they pay like $15 for the whole year. And I teach an 8-week class, and so does Fred. It's an hour a week.
And they're probably packed out.
Yeah, Yep, my class, I know, and filled up and they never for some. But it's wonderful people, just wonderful people. And because of that, we get invited to other places and it's just, things are going really well. So
Well, things go well for people that know what they're talking about and know what they're doing and treat others with respect. And that definitely describes both of you.
yeah.
Because one thing, I'll tell you, one thing that I have heard from lots of people that don't even know that we are friends. They say, they come down to the Treasure Coast and they run into one of you on the beach and you just treat them very well. You're friendly. You're not, get away from me and all this. And there's some out there that do that, and, they're big shots or whatever. But the public persona that you both have, it's immense, and people really appreciate that.
I wrote this book, Detecting the Treasure Coast. It's my very first book. And it's a very good book and it's sold well. I'm very proud of it. And this, we're upgrading it, and this is going to be the color edition. It's going to be in color. And does that ever make a difference? These color,
Big time.
color pictures.
Big time.
And what happened, my first book was 200 pages. This one is 140 and exactly the same thing. And this one is in the other. Nothing. And Fred is the one that was responsible for doing that. He took and reduced the size of the pictures, reduced the size of the print here a little bit, narrowed the margins, and then on a lot of the pictures, where I'd have a picture, something written underneath, he put the print up on the side, and so I'm able to come out with a colored edition, and it's because of Fred's efforts.
It makes it easier to read and correlate.
Exactly,
People
and then
correlate.
there's another fellow, Jim McLaughlin. And Jim, is he's very good. He corrects all the misspelling and the punctuations and that. I tell everybody, it's true that when I had English in high school, that's when I met my wife, Jean, and I missed it all. It's her fault.
I don't have an excuse.
Nor do we even need one.
Yeah. So anyway, I've already, this is the first proof that's come back. Now I'm working on that. You can see that the proof didn't come out the color center. So we're redoing the top, and then so this will be out in about 2 or 3 weeks. It's exactly the same book, only in color.
Well,
And
Bill wants a dozen.
And it's a fantastic reference book. It's the same book, but the color makes all the difference.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
In one spot here, I talk about let me see if I can find it there. About the orange sand, when you always look for the orange sand, that you're down to the original beach, and picture of it. The pictures just stand out. I mean, it just makes such a difference. When I talk about a cut or a bowl or something like that, see it in color. It just brings it home. Here,
The definition is much greater in color.
I talk about the orange. Look at that picture.
And that gives people recognition. They go, well,
Exactly.
in black and white, you can't really tell the difference in the color, and it's substantial. So now they can see it.
I found this coin, and they believe at this time that this is the oldest coin found in the Treasure Coast. If it's not the oldest, it's one of the oldest. It's this coin was minted in Mexico, and the assayer was a guy by the name of Gunnerwitz, and he worked from 1544 to 1548. So that kind of dates the coin. And I found 2 of them. And the way I found them, I was walking down the beach by the water, and then I looked up on the bank. I could see that orange sand. The crabs were digging it up. And I walked over there, and I had 3 of the most fantastic days of detecting ever. It took me 3 days to I got 2 of these Spanish birds.
Well, that's something right there.
And so it's the colored book is going to make a huge difference.
We got a couple questions here. One from Florida Metal Detecting. How does Terry and Fred feel about the beaches being replenished with the sands? He got here a little late and missed that, so let's go over that again.
Well, they say that if you can't say anything positive, don't say anything at all. So I'm not going to talk. It's criminal what's happened. It's killing the sand fleas. It's killing the reefs. It's killing turtles, And the treasure hunters, this is a treasure coast. They call this a treasure coast because there's treasure out there. And what the sand is doing is washing it out, covering up that treasure. And if you had Fizz in here and a couple of the other divers, they'll say now that they're blowing a hole down 10 feet to get to the original sand.
And all of that sand has to go somewhere. So every year they're bringing in, trucking in more sand, more sand. So it gets where the inner reef is actually covered with sand now, and it kills the fishing, the sand fleas, the whole
So it kills
marine
everything,
life,
doesn't it?
the whole marine life,
Yeah.
the turtles, everything.
I think they gotta be nourished, with fix the erosion. But I think there's gotta be a better solution than what to do.
Yeah, get rid of some of the houses and stuff and let the dunes be like they're supposed to be.
I mean, my opinion is that the people living along the shore, we're putting all this taxpayers' money there to protect their houses. And that's the only reason they're replenishing the beaches, to protect the houses and the condos along the beach.
Yeah, because they don't care about the bathers and
Whether I'm wrong or not, I personally believe that they should raise their taxes so that their taxes pay for their houses their beach being renourished, and or their insurance, raise their insurance where their insurance pays for it. But
Yeah.
something should be done instead of just taking all the taxpayers' money and completely wasting it on sand every year or every other year.
well, and if they want to have their house on the beach, then they need to be levied so much every year as a fee for saving the dunes.
And then maybe they would want to, I've seen a lot of houses that don't get renourished and they're fine. So it's just certain houses in certain areas, and I think it's sad.
When it does, it ruins the beach. Grandma
I do
Kelly's,
think they gotta repair, which, I just wish they'd have a better way of doing it.
yeah, better way of doing it. I agree. We've got a couple, Grandma Kelly's Clean Life, Clean Living has got your books. She's got one, ordered it off Amazon, and she can't hardly wait to get it.
God bless. Thank you much.
Here again, Grandma Kelly's Clean Life, Clean Living says, I think we ought to just let the houses go. The world is changing, and I am sure that is an unpopular opinion. I happen to agree with it. Just, let her go. Bring the beaches back, because Mother Nature will always take care of herself. It may not seem like it, but that's when they have storms. Storms come in, deposit a lot of sand. Storms come in, take sand away. That's why there's storms, I think. So, it's not only for the wildlife, it hurts the wildlife and other stuff. And plus kills the detecting.
Do you think that has anything to do with my decision?
Oh, and they have a lot to do with mine. Now, on the Treasure Coast, the 1715 fleet was what, 11 ships?
It was 11. It was actually 12 ships. One was a French ship, and the Spanish would not let the French ship leave because he's afraid that they would alert the pirates and stuff. And the French ship was not loaded with treasure, so it was faster and it took off. But my wife and I yesterday were at the McClarty Museum, so we sat through the movie again, and the movie just had 10 ships. But I'm under the impression it's 11.
And how many have been found?
Out of the 11, it's my understanding they found 6. And now it was told to me when we came down in 2005, there are 2006 in that area, and they said that they had found 6, and the average salvage for those 6 ships has been $41 million per ship. That's back into what it would be now. And I do believe that the 7th ship is right up by where I live, right in Melbourne.
Because you find stuff all the way up to Patrick Air Force Base, don't you?
Yeah, my very first Spanish coin was a 1701 Spanish 2 real, found right in front of the trailer park. We used to have a camper. We were on the beach, and when I found the coin, I could see the camper. Talk about a thrill. There's only one first. I put it in my pocket, walked a few steps, took it out, looked at it, and Fred did the same thing with his ring. He was driving home. He said every stop he took it out.
Well, I bet. You did the same thing with that olive jar top, didn't you?
Yeah, I left all
You
the
gotta
way
bring
home.
that up again, don't you?
You're gonna have that made into a necklace.
I laughed all the way home.
You have it made into a necklace, so every time you go to Terry's house.
But the interesting thing about the 1715 fleet, it's really hard to identify which ship is which ship. And there's no really identification of the ships. A lot of people believe that, theories and everything. I came up with a map with where most people thought the which ship was on which beach and everything. But as time goes by, more research is done, and now they're changing the location of some of the ships.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, the Sandy Point wreck, which they believed was another ship. Well, the Hampton Court, the English ship, that was the Carmen, and that was the Rio Mar wreck. And as the story goes, the ship, the Carmen, washed ashore almost intact.
Oh, really?
And when it washed ashore intact, it couldn't have done that in front of Rio Mar because there's a really rocky reef there, and it had to go over 3 reefs, and it would have broken apart just like the rest of the ships. But now they believe that the Carmen is the Sandy Point wreck because it only had to make it over 1 reef, and then what happened was it got stuck in the sand during the storm, and they were throwing cannons out, so there was a perfect line of cannons where they were dropping them to try and refloat the ship, but it couldn't fight the storm, and it got washed in one piece there at Sandy Point. That's the new belief.
So do you think it's because they're continually diving the wrecks and finding more information, identification?
People are researching, doing more research in Spain, in Havana, and places like that.
Oh, okay.
But we don't know unless you find a ship's bell, or if you go back in time when the bronze cannon from the Spanish, they were very easy to trace. So the bronze cannons, they would have a serial number, they would have a name of the cannon. Each cannon was named with a motto, and they knew it had the king's crest on there. So there's a lot of information. The weight, what it was made of. Now the iron cannons, they're just going to corrode, they're going to rust, and the iron cannons had information on them too. But
You probably can't identify it.
lost through rust
Yeah.
and corrosion. There's not much left of the cannons.
Yeah.
People gotta remember too, that there's a heck of a lot of ships out there that are sunk other than the 17.
Oh, absolutely. The 1715 fleet, this Treasure Coast is known for the 1715 fleet, but there's so many more ships.
Oh, I would imagine so. It just wasn't that group of ships that got caught in hurricanes and
No,
broke
I've
apart.
heard stuff, but, this didn't come from 1715,
And it's been happening for probably, 100 years before that.
Oh, 200 years at
Yeah.
least.
We got a question from Rumtide. What's everyone's favorite book on the 1715 fleet?
Mine.
There he does it again.
I would say, hey, he asked.
Yeah.
I tell you, there is a lot of good books out there. There really is. And one of the fellows that was here last year, Sid Jones, he wrote, what was the name of that? Tears of the
Sweat of the Sun, Tears of the Moon.
Yes, sir.
And that is a phenomenal book, but that's about the Etosia.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things when you start reading it, you're not going to get much work done because you're going to finish reading it.
Well, it is a page turner. That is for sure.
I,
And Sid and KT wanted to be here tonight, but they are doing air shows. They've got an old Panchito.
Yeah.
And that they just had an engine rebuilt, and they take people for ride. They got a bomber and a fighter plane, I think, and they're doing the air shows, and it just didn't coincide. But they love talking about this. And you're right, Terry, that book, Sweat of the Sun, Tears of the Moon, very well written book.
it is.
And it will tell you the complete story. See, people They think that they just got in the boat, went out there, oh, here's the treasure, and started pulling up. Oh, that ain't the way it works.
But it
You know,
could work that way.
It could work that way.
But the Mel Fisher Museum has an excellent selection of treasure books, everything from the Etosha to the 1715 fleet by numerous authors, including Terry and myself.
What did he give you?
Oh,
I can't see.
That's a book, one of the best books on the 1715 plate fleet. That's
Oh,
number
yes.
2.
Yes, it is.
This is written by the guy that steals all of it.
That's right.
Can I talk about this?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Go ahead, you got
Let's talk about that.
Okay, so I brought 2 of my favorite finds, and this one I found over a year ago, and this is 7.5 inches tall, 6 inches wide, and it's made of bronze, and the bronze actually has silver in it, which means it's very old bronze. And when I first got this out of the water, it was covered in sand, it was encapsulated in sand, and it was hard to make out exactly what it was. But when I saw those 2 pillars, I knew it had to be Spanish, because that's the same pillars that are on the coins and
Mhm.
stuff. So it does have 9-karat gold washed plating on it.
What do you think it was?
Well, I had it on Facebook a few times, and I got all kinds of really weird things. Some guy put on there that he thought it was a toilet roll holder. And they have a saying in England that in days of old, when knights were bold and paper weren't invented, they wiped their ass on a blade of grass and had to be contented.
Yeah.
But they didn't have toilet rolls back in those days. But
They're so elegant.
And those 2 guys up there can identify that.
so the 17th Fleet Society has
Thank you so much.
a archaeologist, Jorge Proctor, and I sent pictures to him and actually showed it to him, and he believes it's a religious artifact. So he believes it's a travel version of something that would be behind a Catholic altar. So there would be some kind of painting or something hanging in the center of it.
When we got a comment from Andrew T. He's up in Canada. He says a reliquary, what, I don't know. I can't pronounce it.
Yeah,
But that would be a religious type thing, wouldn't it not?
yeah, exactly.
And then Grandma Kelly, doesn't Terry have a book on that too?
I have 6 of them.
6 of them. And how many books do you have in print now?
3.
3.
I'm working on my 4th. Yeah.
And it's going to contain the olive jar, right?
Yeah, I think
Pictures.
that was in the first one
And it will make another appearance,
with a picture of Terry.
holding it.
I actually have a in this book here. I have a chapter on Terry Shannon in this book, and it tells a lot about the man, and a lot of his finds and stuff too. So it's a very good chapter. And with all the rings he found, over 1,000 rings at the time, I named the chapter "Lord of the Rings."
That would be pretty
And that's
accurate.
Mr. Terry Shannon.
That would be a very, very accurate. Why do you think Gene's hung around though so many years? I mean, I remember this was a number of years ago. A couple friends and I went down, and you probably remember at that time we come over to your house. And
Well, that was years ago.
it was, and he puts a big huge pile of rings on the table, and I was, doing a YouTube channel then, and I told him, I said, I probably shouldn't put this, on YouTube, people might find out you got all these rings, and then they come and rob you. Terry says, "That's okay." He's like, "I got a lot of guns." But it was amazing the amount of rings that he's found. You know,
A lot of those rings come from Minnesota. There's the Ottertail River, and I grew up on that Ottertail River. You know, when I was a kid, I was playing in that river as a kid. I'm 83 now. I'm still playing in that same river. But they tube down the river. Of course, tubes, you know, you float. It's a narrow, fast-moving river, and you know, when they get close to shore, they get their hands in the water, and their rings will fly. And I've done really well.
because it's cold
Yeah.
and it shrinks up the fingers or whatever,
Yeah.
or they dump and,
You know, but a couple times this last year where I scooped, you know, a ring up or a coin up, and I got an arrowhead in the scoop. You know, nice, you know, arrowhead in there. So it's a wonderful place. It really is.
now, wasn't it last year, there was a lot more water in the river than there generally is?
You know, last year the water went down, and I was able to get into some spots, and I found a couple of rings that I really questioned. And the one where I got the ring and I got an arrowhead right beside it, you know, and musket balls and stuff like that. So there's a lot of history there. And they also, in the old logging days, logged, you know, so there. And I also, I've got a Red River Valley oxcart fort, and I've had exclusive rights to that. Really wasn't. The farmer was a friend of mine. He invited me out. I went out there every year. And the Red River oxcarts were Frenchmen that married Indian ladies, and they called them Métis. And they had these ox carts, and these ox carts were made with no metal or anything like that. It was all wood, and they just squealed as they drove it because they put grease in the tires that would gather dust and act as sandpaper. See? And they went right through our town, and I found some phenomenal stuff. Old seed coins and that. And the farmer has since died, and he turned the farm over to his daughter and her husband, and their children now have it. And both the boys married girls that are very active and teachers in that. And so everything I found, I've given back. And with the idea that they, you know, show it. You know, they just don't stick it someplace. And then I'm into the cellar holes now. You know, where in Minnesota, when they built a cellar hole, was actually to keep things refrigerated. But when they built their cabin, a short ways away, they would build another smaller cabin. And the reason for that being if the house burned down, and that happened a lot. And in Minnesota winters, you just don't go stay at a regular motel anymore back then. You know, and so they have another one. And I found, you know, I've got just tons of really interesting artifacts.
Well, I bet.
And then I moved in with Fred on his Indian war stuff, and just having a ball.
Well, he's got a ton of it. And Fred, I just want you to say that Grandma Kelly's Clean Life, Clean Living says, okay, got the Fred Banke book coming too.
Thank you, Grandma.
And Florida Metal Detecting is Terry going to publish his sheriff story book anytime soon?
The sheriff story book is written. It's taking a backseat to this thing, but it is written. The cover's done. I just have not sent it in again, but it will be in shortly. And it's my copy story. I started out as a police officer in Moorhead, Minnesota, and then I ran for sheriff in Becker County, and I was elected as sheriff. I spent 2 terms in there. I didn't run for the 3rd term because I bought a fly and fishing resort up in Canada. Way up north in Canada, they had 10 outpost camps. And the only way to reach my camps was by airplane. And so I'm a licensed pilot in the United States and Canada. And I did really well. I also bought a lot of rice company up there and had them all paid for, sold them, and did well. And retired, and that didn't work out very well. They called me and asked if I would go to work as a policeman in Perm, a neighboring town. And I thought, God, it would be fun to go out there and drive fast, whoa, that kind of stuff. And so I got my license back up to date. I'm an instructor, so I just taught some classes and I get credit for it. And I went to the interview, and they interviewed me, and they hired a young kid right out of rookie school. And so I called up the city manager. I said, I don't understand that. I said, you know, you called me. I didn't apply for the job. And you hired this young kid. And they said, well, will you take the chief's position? And it was a setup all along. And so I said, I'll give you 2 years. And I was there for 8. and just a wonderful time. And, and I had some interesting things, like I had some kids found a dead deer in the road. And on the way to school, so they picked it up, put it in the girls' bathroom, set it on the stove, crossed its legs, and had a hook up like this with a cigarette. And they call the police department. I go up there, take one look at it, and the superintendent of the school said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Absolutely nothing." I said, "I think that's just wonderful." Laughing, and he's laughing. He's a friend of mine. He told me to get the hell out of there, And so that night, I get a call from the newspaper officer. That afternoon, they asked if the story was true, and I said, "Yes, it was." And I never got a picture of that guy. I wish it was. And they said, "Well, we also heard that you wouldn't do your job, so they kicked you out of school." I said, "That's true too." My wife and I watched TV that night. They never said a thing.
Well, one story you got to tell is the walking short.
Walking short. Is that the one right through the?
That's where they used to call you, instead of Buford Pusser, walking tall.
Okay. Well, when I first took over, I got a call at home. I was only a police chief or sheriff for about a week, and they said 2 people have been shot. There's been a shooting. 2 people have been shot. They thought one was a deputy, and a trooper was on his way to pick me up. And I grabbed my rifle, ran outside, and there's a trooper come in. I hopped in the car and we went up. It was on the reservation, and I love to drive fast, but I mean, to ride fast is another whole different ballgame. And I'll never forget that I came over the hill, and I looked down, and here's a house here with a bunch of guns sticking out the windows. There's a trailer house over here with guns, a body laying in between, and the whole area was surrounded by all these stage cops, and I'm the boss. And if I could have faked a heart attack, I'd have been out of there in a heartbeat. And I used a tear gas gun, and big shells. I put them on the hood of the car, and got a megaphone, told the house to give up, or I was going to blow it up. And they all jumped out the window and gave up. See, so I just got the trailer house. And when I get up, the guy was shooting all the time. And finally, he quit shooting. I figured he's out of ammunition. He held up a feather, and he held up a baby. And when he quit shooting, I figured, and the natives were coming and closing in. I had to do something. I didn't have time in the bush. So I went up there to the trailer, to the door, told them to open up, and they told me to do something that was physically impossible. It was extradition. And at that time, my deputy was sneaking up alongside the trailer, and they threw a car battery out the window and hit him in the head. And I just lost it, see, and I picked up this bicycle and break out the pitcher. I'm slamming, and it yells. I had a 2x4. They're hitting me with that 2x4. Apparently, I was so mad. I didn't realize, and I dove in the window, and I searched the trailer, and I couldn't find the guy, and then one deputy joined me in there. I went back in the bedroom. There's a long closet, and then there was a gap before it, and I pulled the paneling off, and there's a hot water heater, and he was standing on that. So I grabbed him by the feet, and the fight was on, and I'm on the bottom, and my deputy come in there. They hit him in the head with a hatchet. Put his helmet open. And I finally get the guy handcuffed, get him to the door, and he spins away from me and runs away, and I'm right behind him. So I tackle him, and as I'm wrestling with this guy on the ground, another big Indian come up and kicked him in the face. And I stood up and I hit this guy, see? So here I come up, bring me in, I take a bicycle, beat out the pitcher window, dive into the trailer house, and the next time they see me, I'm running out, tackling this guy, and then hitting another guy, and that's when they started calling me Buford Pusser, walking short. And the bicycle, the stories changed. It was no longer a bicycle, it was a tricycle, and I was riding it as I went down.
Yeah. Florida Metal Detecting also says, one more question, if I may. Can Terry tell the story how he got the nickname Snowball back in his flying days?
Oh, yeah. I wasn't even a pilot. I've had a couple plane crashes. In fact, I had back-to-back. I crashed one plane, bought another one, and crashed that first flight. And the whole first one, and the second one, the engine, oil light rupture. But I was getting instruction. I was just learning how to fly, and I flew into Fargo. And the runway kind of went an angle, and they had a big pile of snow. And as I come in, and I probably got like 6 hours in the airplane, and it started to porpoise. and they tell you what it's porpoising to push the stick forward and hold the plane on the ground. And I did that. You know, I'm really experienced. All 6 hours, I pushed the stick forward, but a gust of wind picked me up, and I weather vaned into the wind, flew right into that big snowbank. And of course, my thoughts were that both wings are full of gas. So I dove out, didn't even shut the airplane off. And the airplane, whoop, you know, going slow. Climbed back in and shut it off, and they said, you know, are you all right? I said, fine. They sent out, and I had to fill out a form, you know, about the accident. And then they handed me a set of keys to another airplane. They said, why don't you go fly it? And I said, I'm not going to fly today. And they said, if you don't go back flying, you'll never fly again. You know, and I said, I'm not going. I said, I'll go tomorrow. And so I did. I went up the next day. They gave me an airplane. I taxi out on the tower frequency. I'm doing everything just perfect. And I switched over to tower frequency, and I said, Parker Tower, this is Musketeer 101FD, ready for takeoff on runway 35. I said, I'd like a right turn departure, please. And he come back and said, Roger, Snowball, anytime you feel your hand. I was ready to quit right there. But
I bet. Well, let's kind of close it out. We've been going about an hour and a half. So let's all close it out, and each of you tell a really good story about the Treasure Coast or something, whatever you choose.
I got a lot of them, you know, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful place. You know, the real treasure is the health benefits, people you meet out there, and you know, find it, you go out and enjoy it and meet friends. And I want to thank everybody out there that watched the show today. You know, you guys are good people, and I thank you for your support.
Well, we sure thank you. And you know, you're talking about the health benefits. You say you walk 6 or 7 miles. I tell you what, let's all give a round of applause to Miss Jean, Terry's wife. How many miles this year so far?
2,180 miles since October.
Since October on the beaches down here, over 2,000 miles she's walked since October. That's a lot of miles.
I once found a really nice ring and went down to the beach to the water to wash it off. Wet sand. I could see her coming. She has a very distinct voice. So I just held the ring until she got there, and she said, "What did you find?" I said, "I found this ring." You put it on. She, "Oh, it fits." And it's going.
No need for chatter. Give me the goods. See you later.
One of the best days we had treasure hunting, metal detecting together was it was raining, it was just pouring down, and we were finding coins, and we were finding everything, weren't we?
Hundreds of them. It just,
Unbelievable. We were soaking wet. I mean, we were just soaked through, and we had rain gear on, and we were just soaked through. And I told him when I left, I was going to go buy some better rain gear and everything. I went to Walmart, bought some better rain gear, and he was telling his friends, his friend Dwayne, that he needed a new raincoat and stuff, and Dwayne bought him a new rain gear.
yeah.
Well, he knows how to wind the right way to the right people, don't he?
I got this pathetic look down their pants.
Well, it works. It works.
That was one of our best days of metal detecting together. We had a blast that day.
I tell you, since Fred and I got together this year, we had at least 4 times where it was unreal. We got into the coins and stuff, and it was so thick on the spots that when you scoop it up and you dumped it on another target. You know, it was just unreal. We had 4 really
good days.
Well, let's hope we have one of those kind of days tomorrow.
And the guy that called Dwayne there, he's a good friend of mine, and they Florida metal detecting. He and I and another fellow, we got into some shipwreck coins. And these coins are fused together, big clumps and that stuff. Talk about it. That was before I met Fred. But you and I got into them this year.
Yeah, we did.
Again, same spot. And I mean, there's shipwreck that come in big clumps of coins here. My gosh, is that exciting digging them up. I think I got several clumps and I got 40 or 50 other coins. You know, and one of the guys left early and cleaned up one of the coins, and turned out they're Australian coins from 1960 to 1970. I mean, how did a Australian ship sink off our coast with all them coins, and they had to be all together because they're coming
Yeah.
clumps.
And how many years ago did you find?
That
you
was
and
2 or 3
Jerry?
years ago.
Yeah, and we found them this year.
Yeah, I got one clump with 7 of them.
Well, it just goes to show you never know what you're going to find.
No, it's just-
You know. And
Whole mystery.
yeah, it is. It is a mystery every day, and cleaning the environment and keep your health up really cool from Grandma Kelly's. And
God
that's,
bless
we
you,
do clean
Grandma.
we do clean up the environment most times. We clean it up a lot. So that is really good. I mean, we've been about an hour and a half now, and I appreciate you guys. I mean, if there's one thing we can always count on you guys for a great show. We're just so blessed to call you friends, as is I think everybody here feels the same way.
Well, thank you very much. And
So-
I'd like to be on again next year because I want to bring in that officer that I went to fire.
That's right. Well, you can bet next year.
If he doesn't find one, I'll bring mine in.
Well, you might want to bring it, just in case.
Okay.
So, and everybody here and watching will join me in a round of applause for Harry and Fred. It's very, very good. And we thank you. And you will be here next year. So I'm going to go ahead and close it out here. There we go. You got back to the homely one here. So we hope that you enjoyed our time tonight spent with Terry and Fred. Like I said, we miss the others that couldn't be here. And let's all say a prayer for Captain Fizz that his health becomes restored and the others travel safe. And a happy anniversary and happy birthday to Nicole. And hopefully they'll be here with us next year. As Fred alluded to, in July, make sure you come here for Mel Fisher Days. If you have any interest in treasure at all, that is a place that you'll want to be. And you couldn't get better hosts than Nicole and her husband and brother, I think.
Yeah, Melvin.
Melvin. You just can't get better hosts than that. Very gracious people. They know what they're talking about, and they got some fantastic stuff there. So, and I want to thank all the people here in the house with me, and when I get these ideas, the biggest one I got to thank is Susan, because she puts up with me, and I get these grand ideas and she goes, okay, because she's got to drive me, and a finer person is not on the face of the earth. And we want to congratulate Molly on making cheerleader. That was a highlight of this year. And like I said, I've just been a very, very blessed person with all these people that join me here in this house. I consider them family, really good friends, and they like being here. And we just want to thank them and thank you for tuning in because we've been going almost 5 years, coming up 5 years in May, I do believe. So that's quite a long run for Philip and I. And join us again on Monday night at 7:00, our normal time, where we're going to have Butch Holcomb from American Digger Magazine. So Butch is always a hoot and always very full of information. So we want to thank you for watching tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. Let us know. And happy hunting and dig deeper. And we'll see you on Monday night. Good night, everybody.